This video is going to take you through the 5 key elements which are really important in relation to the Pilates exercises that you've been learning and can also be helpful as part of your treatment for neck and back pain. The 5 key elements in Pilates are centering, which relates to your low back and pelvic posture and also your core stability. Lateral breathing, which is a type of breath that we use in Pilates to expand the lower rib cage out to the sides, which can help with mobilizing the ribs and middle back. Ribcage placement, which is your posture of the ribs, in particular at the front when you're performing movements with your arms in the air. Shoulder blade posture, and also head and neck posture. So I'm going to take you through exercises that relate to each of these, which you can practice at home. So the first of the 5 key elements we're going to try is centering. To center, we need to find the neutral position for your low back and pelvis. So what I'd like you to do is put your hands around your hips, so your fingertips are at the front and your thumbs are around the back of your hips. And then just slowly tilting the pelvis back to tuck your tail under, and notice how that makes the low back start to flatten down against the mat. And then gently moving in the opposite direction, tipping your tailbone towards the floor, and notice how that makes more of an arch in your low back. So I want you to just take a moment to go back and forth 3 or 4 times, staying in a range that's comfortable for you, and take note of how far you're able to go in each direction. To center, we need to find the mid-range position between those 2 extremes. You might find that it leaves a little arch in the small of the back, about enough space to rest a little grape in there, but it should be a comfortable position that doesn't require a lot of muscular effort to hold. We then need to add the core contraction to complete centering. So I want you to feel the bony parts of your hips at the front and then sliding in towards the midline about 1 inch and then down about 1/2 inch. And gently press into the muscles of the lower tummy. To engage those deeper abdominals, you need to think about gently tightening and lifting through your pelvic floor until you can just feel some tension deep in those abdominal muscles where your fingers are. And then see if you can just maintain that gentle tension like an elastic band tightening between your hip bones without holding your breath for another 3 breaths. The next key element we're going to work on is lateral breathing. Lateral breathing involves the expansion of the lower rib cage out to the side, and to practice that we're going to use some TheraBand wrapped around the lower part of your ribs, across the back and wrapped around and crossed over at the front. So at home, if you don't have some TheraBand, you could use a towel or a belt, but be mindful not to pull on it too tight if you're using something that's not elastic. So the emphasis here is to breathe into the lowest part of your lungs and feel that your lower ribs are expanding out towards the elbows, and notice the tension that it creates in the band or the towel that you're using. As you exhale, just relax and allow the ribs to recoil back to their resting position. As you take the breath in and out, be mindful to keep your shoulders relaxed and your chest relaxed at the front, so we're not flaring the ribs or lifting the sternum out to the front or up towards the ceiling. The breath doesn't need to be too deep. It can just be a normal sized breath so you don't feel dizzy or hyperventilate. After 3 or 4 breaths, you can release the tension from the band and then try the same movement with just your hands resting around the lower part of your ribs. With the same breath pattern, you'll feel your hands get pushed apart as you inhale. And as you exhale, just let them recoil back. You can give a gentle pressure with the hands in towards the midline. And breathing in, let your hands get pushed apart once again. The lateral breath is a great way to mobilize the lower ribs and even relax some of your neck muscles. So the next key element we're going to work on is ribcage placement and control. So for this exercise, you'll need to place one hand on the lower ribs at the front of your body and float the other arm up towards the ceiling. As you reach your arm overhead, we want to make sure that the ribs at the front stay heavy and relaxed and not push your hand up towards the ceiling. Gradually return the arm to the start position and just repeating that action 3 or 4 times, maintaining your awareness to the front of the ribs, ensuring that they stay relaxed and heavy. To assist with that control, if you exhale as the arm reaches overhead, that'll ensure that there's a downward movement of the ribs, keeping them in the ideal posture. If you find that movement easy to control, try floating both arms up towards the ceiling, reaching them together overhead, but maintaining your awareness to the rib cage and the sternum. Only move your arms as far as you're comfortable, ensuring you get no discomfort through the top of the shoulders. The next exercise will help you with posture and movement of your shoulder blades. Starting with some awareness of the position of your shoulder blades as you slide your shoulders up towards your ears slowly, and then gradually lower them down, stretching your arms down towards your heels. Notice how that makes your shoulder blades slide up the mat towards the back of your head and then down the mat towards the lower back. To help with this movement, I want you to inhale as the shoulders move up towards the ears and exhale as you lengthen the arms and feel the neck muscles lengthen and relax. You can repeat that movement 3 or 4 times, moving through a range that's comfortable for you. But ultimately you want to find a nice neutral posturing for the shoulders, which is not depressing them as low as they can go and stretching, nor is it shrugging up as high as you can, but finding that middle position that's comfortable to rest in. The other part of this shoulder blade movement involves the arms floating up towards the ceiling. I want you to imagine that you're holding a helium balloon up above your chest with the elbows straight, and allow that balloon to take your arms up towards the ceiling, and notice how your shoulder blades start to stretch around and come around the rib cage on the outer sides, and then slowly return the shoulder blades to the mat without bending the elbows. It helps if you breathe in as you reach up towards the ceiling, and just gently breathe out to return the shoulders back down to the mat. Once again, we want to find a nice neutral position for your shoulders, which should feel like the shoulders are gently resting against the mat, and then float your arms back down to the floor. So this last exercise will help you with your head and neck posturing. You can see that we've got a magazine resting behind the head, and this is just to allow the head to move freely and slide as we do the movement, without needing to lift the head up off of the floor or pillow. If you need a little bit of extra support under the base of the skull, you can rest a small, thin pillow underneath the magazine. The idea with this exercise is to keep the weight of your head down, but slowly slide the back of the head up the magazine as you nod your head downwards, and then gradually returning back up to a position where you're looking straight up to the ceiling. And we want the movement to be as smooth as possible. Notice that when you bring your chin down towards the chest, the back of the neck lengthens. And as we reach the chin towards the ceiling, it feels like the back of the neck is shortening. Just like we do with centering in the low back, we want to find a neutral position that brings your head into good posture and aligns the neck. And we end up in a position where the front of the head and face is essentially horizontal. This position applies to both sitting, standing, and also in this position lying down.